Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, it's the 31st of March, it's the last day of the month. I'm Karen Curitan, LinkedIn trainer, social media trainer, and all round basically addicted to social media. And today, as you will see, I've got the lovely Gail Morgan. Good morning, Gail.
Good morning, Karen.
So I don't know about you, because I'm in the depths of the East Midlands, just near East Midlands Airport. Do you want to tell us whereabouts you are?
Yes, I'm in North Hertfordshire, just off the A1.
Nice. And is it raining? It's a horrible, miserable day here
It's
today.
just a bit dull.
No, it's just awful. It's just awful here. So mix things up a bit this week because I wasn't able to do a live earlier in the week. So Gail, we met each other through Trainer Talk. Have you been a member long? You've been a member quite a while, haven't you?
Oh, yes, probably about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I think I'm coming up to the same, and I always name check Sharon Gaskin when I do these lives because I blame her entirely because she invited me to talk at one of the last Trainer Talk lives before the lockdown, and I went to that live and just thought, oh my gosh, I love hanging out with these guys. They're amazing. So Sharon Gaskin, if you're watching, it's entirely your fault. And I'm still involved with Trainer Talk and I love it. So Gail, tell us a little bit about you, about Gail. How did you end up, well, tell us what you do now and how did you end up there?
Okay, so I'm an image consultant, I'm a trainer, I'm a mentor, I'm a coach, but it's all based around personal appearance. And so I've been probably working in the image industry forever because I can remember when I was a child drawing designs in a little book, and I have got them in a box somewhere. But realized very early on that I was never going to be a dress designer because my artistic skills are not very good. If you've ever played Pictionary with me, you would understand why that never took hold. But I was always interested in clothes, fashion, whatever you want to call it. Went in after my degree, I went into retail and worked there for a couple of years. And then when I found out I was pregnant with my son, I decided to train to run my own business. And so that's what I did. And so I've been doing this nearly 30 years now, and in one way or another, and I've done all sorts of amazing things with it, from working as a trainer in corporate to looking at dress codes, which obviously I still do as well, working for John Lewis, helping them set up their fashion advisory service and working as a fashion advisor for them for a number of years. And I train people to become an image consultant and a personal stylist, or add image skills to their existing business. So a lot of coaches like to add that into their existing business because it helps their clients, because they go so well together. And I do work with a lot of coaches as well to help them with their clients who might be great on the inside, but suddenly the outside isn't kind of matching up to their newfound confidence internally.
And I think that's a really important thing, isn't it? Because what we absolutely have to make sure that we do is when we work for ourselves, it is that 5 seconds that people make a judgment on us. When they see how we look, we make that judgment call about what type of person they are.
It's scary, but true, and it's not that we do it to be mean or nasty. It's kind of goes back to the fight or flight kind of instinct. That is this person someone I can trust? Are they, worthy of my time to some extent? But also, do I feel a connection with them? And so what we wear and how we present ourselves is actually a really quick way of building rapport with someone. So it's worth taking some time and thought at the beginning of the day as to what you think you're going to be doing and who you're going to be engaging with, especially if you work for yourself.
Oh, I think that's so true. I mean, really oddly, when I knew I was doing my live, when I do a live, I always dress differently. Really oddly, rightly or wrongly. I always dress slightly different when I'm doing a live, but also when I present. And so last night, I actually don't usually work evenings. I have a really long working day. Our alarm goes off about 5:30 in our house. So I don't usually work evenings, but I was working with some volunteers last night in the Leicestershire Community Trust. and teaching them how to use social media to get more impact and all those sorts of things. And I was in a virtual room of 22 people, but I always wear this sort of colour. I always wear red, usually, because you need to be identifiable. And I suppose, during lockdown, you must have seen a lot of changes with that.
Absolutely. And, it's thinking about how you present yourself. So what accessories and things you put there, but it's like, put a scarf on, put some red on, put something that's going to be, whatever your brand colors might be, if you can use that in some way. Think about your background, think about that it's not, there's someone I've been watching on social media, and she's got her ironing in the background, and it's kind of like, come on, just think about it. What impression are you giving, And it's, as I say, it's not done to be mean or nasty, but it's kind of like it's a distraction technique. So it's taking away from your message if there's something else going on in the background.
And I totally agree, because I remember when we went into the first lockdown, one of my local networking friends, she's a videographer, and her business just died overnight. And really interesting, given that you've touched on that, I'll mention her. So Katie developed this service where she would help you stage your Zoom location. And we went round my house with my laptop to see, and this was decided that it was the best place, and it would be, stable light, and that it was that. And actually, just this morning, I got these tulips yesterday, and I thought, I'm going to put them behind, and they're a little bit distracting. We've got somebody in our Facebook group, and you need to give StreamYard permission at the top where it says that we're going live with StreamYard, because we can't see your name. But yes, absolutely, be noticeable, be smart, be presentable. So Gail, our topic for today, which really excites me, is talking about age-appropriate dressing. And you must get asked this a lot, because it's an internal dialogue for me a lot, that I don't want to, especially for work. A lot of my clients are a similar age or younger to me, and a lot of them, and I'll give you this as an example, because I appreciate your thoughts, is a lot of them wear tea dresses with trainers. That's very much a look, isn't it, at the minute?
It is. Yeah.
But
I went to a conference last year, actually. I went to a conference last year, actually, and I can pretty much say that 80% of the women there were wearing dresses and trainers, and which is fine, and it's a really comfortable look, and it's great that we can all wear that. And it was like, we're all coming out of hibernation, so it was lovely to put on your dresses and everything, but it was quite obvious that was a style and that was a look, and that's fab. It was fine, because they were all professional organizers, so it was kind of practical, and it was the sort of thing that they would wear. So again, I think, if you go into a networking meeting and things like that, you want to look like what people would expect your job title to be.
Absolutely.
So, to a certain extent, I always say, if you're a gardener, I don't want you necessarily to come suited and booted, because why would I think that you're going to be any good at my gardening? So it is horses for courses from that point of view. But from the age appropriate side of things, I think nowadays there's so much, and certainly for women, there is so much choice that it can become overwhelming as to what is okay, what is appropriate, certainly from a business point of view. And it is about almost designing your own dress code, because we have that opportunity, especially if we work for ourselves. And in some organizations, you can almost design your own dress code with some support. But the worst thing is, if you do work for an organization, is if somebody says, you got it wrong, and you've already spent that money, because they haven't guided you correctly, or in an easy way to understand. But I think, in whatever age we are to a certain extent, but certainly as we get older, we want reassurance that we're not getting it wrong. We don't want to look the mutton dressed as lamb. We don't want to look frumpy. It is that kind of, it's almost that scaredness, if you like, to to take that leap of faith and to trust our instincts sometimes. And I was working last night, actually, I was speaking at an event as well, and this topic actually did come up. And that was really what people were talking about was, you know, we're not ready to give up. We want to know how, and we can still, you know, allow ourselves to be stylish, but not necessarily a slave to fashion.
It is, and it is all about balance. I remember 3 years ago, my lovely husband, who's a little bit younger than me, he turned 50 just before the first lockdown. We actually managed a 50th party, and we were up at the East Midlands Designer Outlet, and we were in the Jaeger shop when there used to be a Jaeger shop, and I saw this navy blue leather black biker jacket, because I can't wear black. Black just sucks the color out of my face. I look awful with black next to my face. This is just like a dark gray. I can just about get away with this. And I said to him, I tried it on. He says, "Oh, Karen, it looks really cool." I said, "Yeah, but I'm a 50-year-old woman." I said, "Is this right?" And you know, this is the hard thing, I think, isn't it? Is that the people that you have around you that love you and care for you, are they always objective? And I mean, he's had a similar challenge because, you know, I know that you work with men as well as women, and he's changed jobs. And when he started his new job last January, he said, they're all wearing suits. And people seem to have stopped wearing suits.
It's very much, you know, there's different cultures within different organizations. I have worked in the past for an organization, and it depended on which site you were based at as to what the dress code was. It could be jeans and a t-shirt, or even shorts and a t-shirt and flip-flops in one office, and then it was completely suited and booted somewhere else. And so it was like a real juxtaposition of, you know, how am I going to dress depending on my day?
And that is the thing. And it is that, you know, generationally, probably the generation I'm in, you know, I used to, when I worked in the corporate world, I used to wear a suit for work because it was easy, because I didn't have to think about it. But I think as you get into your 50s, mid 40s, 50s, beyond, it becomes really hard to know striking the right balance, because you have that, you know, mutton dressed as lamb. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be that person that they go, "Ooh, who's she trying to be?" And it is, and I think when you run your own business, it's really tough.
Yeah, and it is. I think you've hit the nail on the head that it is easy if you have to put a suit on, because you don't have to think about it. It's a uniform, isn't it? You'd wear the same thing every day. And so it's finding that replacement uniform that you feel comfortable in, which, and again, as women, we have so much choice of the types of clothes that we could wear. So even if you just thought of a jacket, like the jacket you've got on, beautiful, but it's a soft jacket. It's not a tailored jacket in the same way as you would wear in the very corporate, but it still adds that extra layer of structure, if you like. And so, but, you know, we could have a short jacket, we could have a tweed jacket, we could have a plain jacket, we could have a long jacket, we could have a double-breasted jacket, we could have, you know, a lapel-less jacket. A bloke just gets a jacket. It might be double-breasted, or it might be single-breasted. It might have 2 buttons or 3 buttons, but that's about it. You know, and then you look at
men haven't got a lot to think about, have they? And I think, you know, for any of the men watching this, because we're also streaming on my YouTube channel this morning as well, is that I think men broadly do have it much easier. But I think there's the other thing, you know, is that age appropriate, I think for me, also encapsulate the changes in our bodies as we get older. And that's difficult in itself, because there's nothing more unflattering than wearing something that's too tight, it doesn't fit you, and then you know, go the other extreme, it's totally the wrong color for you to wear. I used to have a horror of wearing khaki. I hated khaki. And then back in the day, when, do you remember Colour Me Beautiful? I think it was. I think they were the first company that did colours. And I had my colours done, and it was a revelation. And I realized that khaki actually looks really good against my skin tone. And so now I've got khaki in my wardrobe. But when you are, in business, you want to present yourself as professional, 100%. As you say, you want to be on brand. We're getting to the time of year that I change over to the coral color on my nails, which is my brand color. So there's definitely a thing around that. So what tips would you say that we should keep in mind when we're shopping and we want to be age appropriate? What things do you think we should keep in mind?
Well, you mentioned color analysis. That is still going. It is still really popular. It is, for me, I would always offer that as the first step for someone when they come to see me, because it just makes sense. You suddenly find all these colors that work for you. And as you get older, menopausal, whatever we want to describe it, and again, it works for men as well, but it simplifies your wardrobe. It means that you have things that all work together. And as an added bonus, they make you look great. So, what's not to love? And it does make such a massive difference. So from that point of view, it's great. I mean, you were saying about your leather jacket. If you like it and it works for you, then there isn't a no and no, you should or you shouldn't because you've hit a 0 birthday. There may be some things that you would feel uncomfortable wearing, like a crop top and something like that now, and maybe that would be inappropriate. But if you're highly toned and you work out at the gym and you feel comfortable in it, who are we to say not to? It may, again, and if you work as a trainer, then that would be a use. That's an appropriate thing to wear for your situation.
Yeah.
But other things to kind of think about is, do you feel comfortable in it? Because that's that's the most important thing. If you've put on some weight, you're right, it is about fit. You don't want things to be too tight, and actually wearing things that are too tight can make you look bigger if you're not careful. Are we all right? We're breaking up because I keep seeing you twirl. It might be my internet.
No, I'm fine. We're absolutely fine.
And so, but it's almost like, I see people in fitting rooms and they're trying things on. And this is my kind of gauge, if you fit, even if it looks amazing, if you're fiddling with it, if you're playing with it, if it doesn't sit properly, don't buy it. Because that fussing, that fiddling will continue even when you've bought it and you try and wear it. And it'll just get relegated to the back of the wardrobe.
The reason I'm smiling when you're saying that is about 8 years ago, I went personal shopping with a local stylist, and she was great. And some of the things that I bought with her, I still wear. But there was one set pair of trousers that she was desperate for me to get into. She says, I think these are really different. And for a long time, I struggled with pattern. And although I have embraced pattern in dresses, and I have got a very few pattern tops, but these pattern trousers, I just couldn't see what I would wear with them. So I was like walking around the shop going, and then I got them home, and because they were reduced, I justified it to myself. And do you know what it is? I've worn them once, and they're in the bag going to the charity shop. And I think that's the challenge, isn't it? We're in a climate where we're all watching every penny. We're all really mindful of how we spend our money. I mean, I'm just a massive fan of Vinted. I buy and sell stuff on Vinted. But I think understanding what's appropriate for your age and your style and your size is such a big thing. And I saw a post, and we hadn't talked about this, but I'm going to drop it anyway. I saw a post you did on LinkedIn yesterday about proportion. And just give us a couple of thoughts on what you were, because people watching may not have seen this, but I thought it was really fascinating. I'd never thought about the body in that way.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I work with a client, we look at all sorts of different elements. So as I say, colour is usually the first thing that we would look at. But then you want to know about fit and things like that. So there are two types of proportion when I look at a person's body. So you will have heard of body shapes, which lots of different elements, which obviously is really important, and that's what I classify as horizontal proportion, because it's how your shoulders balance with your hips to your waist, basically. But then we've also got what I call vertical proportion. So it's the balance of your top half of your body to the bottom half of your body. So if you've got short body and long legs, it's going to affect where your waistline is. So you find it almost impossible to buy waisted dresses, or even buying trousers can be a challenge because the waist is going to be in the wrong place. And so until you understand that and know how you can balance the proportions, you could look sort of, sometimes it can look a bit like a weeble if you remember what they were, and you sort of look a bit
yes,
top heavy. It looks like it's just not going to work, or you look like sort of just a third on the top and all legs. So, and then equally, if you're the other way around, then you can look quite heavy on the bottom half if you don't pull your top to the right level. So if you wear a long top, it can make your legs look even shorter and often stumpier, for want of a better word. And so it's not going to work well for you. So all of these things are thinking about where and getting dressed is like enhancing the good bits and hiding the bad bits, really. And understanding that is really key.
Yeah. And I thought, when I saw that post yesterday, I'd never really thought, I mean, I'm very blessed and I'm pretty ordinary in that I'm about 5'6". I'm a standard sort of I've got nothing particularly massively different except, menopause tummy, which is, high-waisted jeans and my friends. People will say to me, "Oh, Karen, you're so slim." And I said, no, I just dress well to cover it.
Exactly.
I don't wear as fitted things anymore.
No. And I think that's the key, is understanding, when you know how things fit you and you wear the right things, then you actually will look slimmer. I remember when I left my retail job and I went and I did my training, and then I went back, and everyone kept saying, and I'd had a baby in between times, and everyone kept saying to me, "Oh, you've lost so much weight." I'm like, no, I was a size 12 and I'm now a size 16. But if you think I look thinner now, I was obviously wearing terrible outfits. Well, I know I was wearing like pleated skirts and big baggy, and my jackets were open, and double-breasted jackets, and I must have looked huge. But actually, by going for the right shape, you can actually look thinner.
It's astonishing, isn't it, though? I mean, I remember, I think it was 4 years ago, my cousin who lives in Australia came back to England to get married for the second time, because he said it was cheaper to fly here and get married here than it was to get married in Australia. Astonishing. And I wanted a new dress. It was a family wedding with people I hadn't seen for years. And I discovered a brand that I am actually completely obsessed with called Ingenue, which I absolutely love. And their dresses are perfect for women who haven't got perfect bodies, and they hide a multitude of sins. And I think that's the other thing. I think working with somebody, and we'll talk in a minute about how people can work with you, because I think there'll be a lot of people watching this on catch up. A few people have messaged me today actually and said, "Oh, gutted, I'm missing this. I want to watch it on catch up." Is that finding brands that are sympathetic to your style. I've got a neighbor next door. She's a few years younger than me, and she's completely obsessed with Bolden. I bought Bolden once in a blue moon, but then again, I bought a beautiful cashmere Bolden Vinted jumper on Vinted recently. And every time I wear it, people go, "Oh, beautiful jumper." And I said, "Oh, Bolden." And it was 20 quid on Vinted or something crazy. But I think it's that thing about when you work with somebody who understands style, color, and proportion, I think then this is coming back to our topic of age-appropriate dressing. There is that fear of stepping out of your comfort zone, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it is fear. Because I was talking to a lady last night, and she said, "I've kind of just morphed into going for black, white, and navy because I'm scared of doing anything different." And she said, "I don't want to be that person. I don't want to become invisible. I don't want to do that. I want to still have the style that I know I had 10 years ago. And I think that's the difference. It's just, and it could be very simple, and that's, I just want to simplify the art of getting dressed. That's my thing. That if you can understand just a few basic principles, it makes such a difference to how you show up in the world. Because although it is just clothes, it's not just clothes, because that is how we show up in the world, and it makes us feel different if we put something amazing on. I broke my foot a month ago, and I've spent most of the last few weeks in pajamas because I couldn't I couldn't do much else. And to actually get up and get dressed makes such a psychological difference to how you feel. It's just incredible.
Oh, I think I couldn't agree with you more, which is why I knew I was going to enjoy this live, is that, I always see my clothes as almost like my armor.
Absolutely.
So I will plan, usually I'm a bit of a planner. I usually plan what I'm going to wear the next day. So I knew when I went to bed last night, because I was working till 8:30, I knew when I went to bed last night that I was going to wear this top, and the interesting thing, and I was just going to ask you this before I ask you to tell people how they can work with you, is during lockdown, I saw that so many people's standards, and I'm not talking about my lovely network, but I saw on some networking calls, people's standards really slipped. And I was curious really to see if you'd noticed that people thought, well, I'm at home, it doesn't really matter.
But it does matter, because we go back to that original statement, you're still impressing people through a camera, and people can kind of almost like sneak a look at you more easily than if you were in a room. So it is even more important. And again, it goes back to how you feel. Because during lockdown, I do similar sort of conversations with people, and they say, I still put my perfume on because that makes me feel like I'm
lithium perfume every time.
Yeah, or put my heels on. I might not be going anywhere, but it's just doing something like that can almost flick a switch in your internally to make you think, right, well, I'm going to change my posture. If you put heels on, you put different pair of shoes on. I can't imagine ever putting another pair of shoes on my left foot at this precise moment, but there we go. But it makes you stand, move differently. Your posture changes. And I think if you are still working from home, it's just worth that effort, because it does make a difference.
I totally agree. And I think it's that sense of personal self and confidence that it gives you from knowing that you feel good in what you're wearing. And there is a huge thing on that. I have a lady locally who's a personal stylist, and she took me out shopping last summer. And I said, in the winter, I find it really easy with my work wardrobe. I have my skinny jeans, and when it's really cold, I wear black leather riding boots, and I wear a smart jacket and a scarf, and that's me. I'm done. Really easy. But in the summer, unless I'm wearing a dress, I struggle. And she actually got me to buy a beautiful skirt, 2 beautiful skirts, and it was great. And having that support. So anybody that wants help from you, Gail, because you work in a very different way, do you want to tell people a little bit more about how they could work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the benefits of lockdown is that I devised a way of doing colour analysis online. So I can actually work with people anywhere in the world, and I have done. And so that's one way that you can do it online. I'm currently just promoting a new course that I'm doing, which starts in about 2 weeks' time on the 11th of April, which is called the Style Success Programme, whereby you get a colour analysis. We get 9 weeks of different elements, which can go into makeup, into body shape, into sorting your wardrobe out, going shopping. And so that's on early bird at the moment if you're interested in that, or if you want to be more focused and just get it done faster, then there are various ways that you can do that on my website.
That's brilliant. Well, I've just popped the link to your website, and of course, people are here on our favorite platform, LinkedIn, they can connect with you on LinkedIn, which is brilliant. So, Gail, thank you so much for spending my Friday morning. My first chat of the day has set me up for the day. Thank you so much for your time and your expertise. A really fascinating subject, and I have a feeling this could be a series. I think we might need to do something about summer workwear. I think that would be quite fun. So thank you, and thanks to everybody who's joined us. Lots of people lurking, and I'll see you all soon.